Recording is in progress. Good evening, y'all. It's Platoon, Foxtrot Platoon, evening and weekends, week 18, day one. We're just going to review the major pieces and parts we've covered for React. State, props, useEffect. So if you're still murky on them, we're going to talk about them again and do a single file example of how all three are leveraged. But that's it. Nothing new, nothing crazy. So props, states, and effects. Props. This is what is passed down to child components. Can't really mutate the prop itself. If you want to take a prop and do something with it later on, as an example, notice we usually send props to components outside of the file, but there's really no reason to not. You can still run a component in the same file. It's just not very clean. But you can't really mutate props here. You could create a new variable, taking that prop and do something with it and then mutate that, but you can't mutate the original. It is just a reference to a variable from a parent component. You can't mutate it. Read only, kind of all the same stuff. It all means the same thing. Props get passed on. They don't get twisted up, anything like that. You're only passing on information that you want to read and utilize elsewhere. If you want to be changing it in some other component, come up with a different solution. Set state within that component based off of a prop. Probably the best way to do it. You could pass set state down as a prop if you really wanted to, and you could change state a few parents up. I think that should work. It's just a callback function. Let's play with that down here and make sure I'm not a liar there. A state, it's mutable. It's like a variable. It's like a non-constant variable. The only difference between state and a variable is state will trigger re-renders when set state is called. This is a good way to keep your web page reactive. You make changes you want to see reflected. This is how you do it. That's what state's for. Don't use state for anything else. State can be as complex or simple as you want it. It could be a super deep, like multi-layered dictionary. It could be a nested, array if you wanted. That's all fine if you want to do that. Generally like to keep state kind of simple, easy to understand, but you can really plug any kind of data type into it that you want. Again, only accessible within the components created in. Its children don't have access to that. You have to pass that down as props. Use state turns stateless components. Stateless components stateful. That's a smart person thing to say. Use state's its own thing. I don't know that. Yes, that's true, I guess, but I don't like saying it that way. If that makes sense to y'all, great. useEffect to me I don't like that. It does add state to a call, right? It adds state to something that is performed on this page on render. You are making a very complicated, if you want to look at it this way, a very complicated set state function, right? Instead of just when you call set state, you got to give it, give it an argument and that changes state. You could look at it as useEffect is how you set state for the useEffect object for the whole page, something to render. And then instead of setting state, you set a variable here. In this case, it's state. Whenever this thing changes, useState is called again. That's making state. That is making this information here stateful. I guess is a way to think about it. I prefer to think of it as something that you want performed a way to make API calls on page render that is available to recall on a trigger of your choosing right here. Jordan, you just described state. I know, but that's not how my brain works. Use state is for API calls. That is the most important way to look at it at this level, right? I don't have a better way to say it. Maybe I should just accept that this is a fine thing to say. I don't. I still don't like it. Oh. All right. Again, state, set state only. Don't change state directly. It won't mutate anything. The other thing you got to be careful of is not setting set state properly. These need to be built, set up like this. You can't. How did I do this in the past? I got myself in a weird spot where I think I set these as a variable, and it caused the most difficult problems to chase down because I kept trying to set state and it kept saying set state wasn't a function. I'm like, what are you talking about? Set state is absolutely a function. That's JavaScript problems. Don't worry too much about that. Effects. Side effects caused by rendering instead of events via event handlers. Run after page rendering complete. Created using useEffect and other ways, right? You can trigger these things with buttons, but these are performed after the render, right? Side effect of the re-render versus something that triggers a re-render. Let's look at an example. Which this is no, oh no, don't paste it there. No, don't do that. So I've already set up a React project and we're just going to blow away, copy paste, and read it. This is utilizing props, state, and useEffect. Notice right here is a component. This could exist in the components folder, but let's keep it all on one page to keep it simple. This is accepting props. Welcome message. So in the main function right here, we are calling that component to be brought in, and we're passing it user info and setting it to my info. All my info is this variable right here. That's fine. And then we're showing that this info here will be called in this component, but referenced as props. Do I have this open somewhere? I don't think I do. So let's see that. Welcome, Bob. So this variable here, my info, it's just this object, Bob count age, is being passed in as my info. Notice the prop name is user info. I like to keep these the same, but that's okay. In the prop, here it is, again, referenced as user info. So props dot user info dot name. If you don't like that many dots, find another language. This is the dot language. But man, I'm pretty sure I know how to do this off the top of my head. You can destructure it like so. So that we don't have to call props each and every time. Destructuring it like this should let it work the same exact way. There we go. So, oh, well, I got to change one thing. Never mind, no, I don't. If you had multiple arguments being passed into this component, if we wanted some other prop being sent in, which we can do, const color. Well, sorry, we need to do this away. Yeah, I mean, actually, there's other ways we could do this. That'll work. Yeah. Am I crazy? Does anyone see this being a? Does anyone know for a fact that don't work? let's just try it out and put the word blue in here. So we're passing in color. If we wanted to further destructure that, we would need to add it here within the destructuring. And then we should still be able to invoke it. I think that might work. That break, no, works just like that. So you can pass in information really any way you want to, and it's being pulled into props. So props itself would have had a .user info, which was this object, and it had .color. Instead of doing props.userinfo. Whatever, props.color, we can just destructure it here on line 6 and then call it as it, as if it was some variable within this function, the scope to this function. Not cool, crazy React work going on here. I just want to further kind of explain. That's all the props are. They're just what is getting passed in to the component when it is called. It's a way to pass on information. And again, it's read only, so we're not going to be mutating that at all. And that kind of makes it not real pretty. So we've explained props getting passed in. State. Don't need to really go too into depth on this. I know we've talked about state every single class in React, but state is here. Set state is a function, a callback function to change it. If you want to change goal given, you always set goal given here. This could be anything you want. This could be foobar. Doesn't have to be the same thing. However, obviously, it's nice for set state. Your set state callback function to be the same as state. Easier to keep track of. Don't, do what you want to do, but that is conventional and painful if you go mixing up the difference, states with a set state that doesn't really match. This is being utilized in the useEffect, so we'll jump straight into that. useEffect, upon render, is running this API call and displaying it to the page. And a refresh will show that it is your daily goal number 15. Is that what's this displaying? Yeah. Okay, so there. useEffect runs on render, right? Making a fetch through asynchronous functions, making our call here, setting it to JSON, and then we are setting state to the output of whatever that activity is. Set daily goal, and that's being called in the template. Or sorry, it's being utilized in the template here. So that's what's getting displayed today. You will, right? After all that, we call it, make it run, and then set goal given to false. Whenever goal given is triggered, this runs again. That's why every time we click, where'd my button go? Oh, that's why every time we click it, and we're causing a change, goal given, this is re-rendering, and then it's set goal given to false, so that we can trigger this all once more. We covered it in class the other day, how this is calling it twice. I'm pretty sure we'll follow it the same exact way. A good way to run a toggle on these, just as a refresher. Set it to falsy, whatever state is. If you set it to the falsy value, when you set state, it should toggle each time because it's always going to look at what it was, change it to false, change it back to true, whatever. We don't need to reset it here. We're just going to be resetting it every time we hit the button. I'm pretty sure. And no, yeah, that one is needed. Hang on, y'all. Sorry. Oh man, what's going on now?
You just used the wrong variable. It's just bang goal given.
Oh, yes. Having a rough day, y'all. Do it however you want. If you want to call it twice and make it look sloppy and weird and call 2 times for no reason, do it the way we showed you in the lecture. Or do it like this and only call it 1 time. It's a nice toggle. Not a React thing. It's not even just a JavaScript thing. This is a nice way to set a toggle with booleans. Do we have any questions about how props are being utilized, how state is being utilized, or how useEffect is being used? If there are no questions, and that's okay, because again, this is mostly just review, but showing it running all together, giving you all a last chance to kind of get an idea of it. And hopefully my poking at it gives someone an aha moment, or yeah, Jordan, we already know that. Both of those are good to me. I like that. Happy to show y'all stuff you already know. Your assignment for today, movie theater website. So get as far with this as you can. Fiddle with these things a bunch. If you find yourself writing code that is being written basically on more than one line, figure out ways to abstract that out. That is the joy of React, is using components and boiling things down. If you find yourself writing lots and lots of replicated CSS, there are ways around that as well that we could talk about. But yeah, that's it. That's all. That's the whole lecture.